He laughed, mocked, and walked out without tipping because he thought the black waiter didn't matter. Moments later, he found out just how wrong he was. Before we dive in, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe, because that encourages us to bring you more powerful stories like this. The sunlight spilled like honey through the grand windows of Maison de l'Aqua, painting golden streaks across the marble floors and snow-white tablecloths. A soft jazz tune flirted with the air, weaving itself between clinking cutlery and murmured conversations. Everything about the restaurant screamed elegance, not just in price, but in the people who thought they belonged there. André moved with effortless grace between tables, a white apron tied sharp against his pressed black slacks, sleeves rolled to his forearms with purpose. His steps were quiet, his service impeccable. At a glance, he was just another server. But look closer, you'd see the discipline in his movement, the way he anticipated needs before they were voiced, the calm in his eyes that masked a life of sacrifice. Every refill, every of course, sir, wasn't just a job. It was fuel for his younger brother Trey's college tuition. The dreams of a sophomore engineering student riding on the tips André collected and the sleep he skipped. He approached table 9. Still or sparkling, sir? He asked, bottle poised. Mr. Langford didn't glance up from his phone. He was mid-50s, expensive suit, graying hair slicked back with too much product. He snapped his fingers once. André's jaw clenched, just for a moment. Still, Langford muttered. Took you long enough. Across the table sat 2 younger men and, notably, a teenager, maybe 16. Light brown hair, hesitant eyes. His son, perhaps. The boy, Eli, gave André a half-smile. Embarrassed? Maybe. Langford smirked as the water was poured. Good help's hard to find. But hey, at least he's quiet. Laughter from the table. Eli didn't join in. He stared at his lap. André nodded with poise and turned away. He'd heard worse. But somehow, this hit different. Not because of the insult, but the assumption behind it. That his silence meant smallness. That his dignity was invisibility. Later, Langford waved him over. Check. André returned with the leather folder and set it down with calm precision. Langford scribbled his signature. No tip. Not a cent. Just a cartoonish smiley face beside his name. He stood up, patted his blazer flat, and chuckled. Tell your chef the lamb's overcooked. Or maybe it's your taste buds that are underdeveloped. André didn't respond. Just collected the folder after they walked away. Inside, the mocking smile drawn in pen. André folded the receipt and slid it into his pocket. Eli lagged behind as they exited. Just before they reached the door, he glanced back at André. Their eyes met, and in that second, André saw it. Shame, confusion, regret. This wasn't over. Not yet. The hum of Maison de l'Aqua carried on like nothing had happened. Wine glasses chimed, dessert orders floated to the kitchen, and waiters wove through tables like clockwork dancers. But for André, time had slowed to a thick, dragging crawl. He stood behind the bar station, eyes locked on the folded receipt in his hand. Langford's smug smiley face grinning up at him through the pocket of memory. His thumb ran along the paper's edge, not tearing it, not tossing it, just feeling it. The way you hold something that matters more than it should. Sasha, a fellow server with tired eyes and sharp wit, glanced over from the server station. He leave you anything? André didn't look up. Just some art. A beat. You all right? He nodded once. Yeah. But he wasn't. Because this wasn't just about a bad customer. It was about how common it was. How much he'd learned to absorb. And today, for some reason, it had gotten in deeper. He turned to reset Langford's table. Clean linen, fresh cutlery, new water glasses. As he reached to adjust a fork, the faint trail of Langford's cologne lingered in the air. Sharp, arrogant, uninvited. And then came the voice again. Langford, now seated on the patio outside, had drawn a new circle of business associates around him. His laugh was louder this time, performative, like an actor in an ego play. André caught a fragment as he passed through the dining room. These kids think they're entitled to respect just for showing up. Back in my day, we earned our place. Another chuckle followed. Then, at least this one didn't ask me for a handout. Just a glass of water. That laugh again. Andre stopped mid-step. The flashback came uninvited. A younger Andre, 19, maybe, sitting in the back row of a Columbia lecture hall. Shoulders slumped under the weight of 3 part-time jobs and a mother slowly dying in a hospital bed. He remembered the voicemail that had shattered him. "Mr. Carter, this is billing at St. Mary's. We need to speak with you urgently about your mother's insurance coverage." Then came the final notice from the bursar's office. The one that meant no more classes unless he paid. He hadn't had the luxury of choosing between school and family. His choice had already been made, by illness, by poverty, by love. That was the moment he stopped chasing titles and started chasing rent. His phone buzzed in his pocket now, shaking him back to the present. A text from Trey. "Passed my CLC exam. 93. Couldn't have done it without you, big bro." Andre stared at the message. That was why he did this. He looked out toward the patio again. Langford was holding court, still talking with that smug self-satisfaction that came from knowing nothing could touch him. Andre's fingers tightened around the receipt in his pocket. Not resentment, not rage, just resolve. They thought they knew who he was because of the apron, the silence, the smile. But they had no idea. Andre moved through the restaurant with deliberate calm, like a violinist tuning a bow. Outside on the patio, the sun glinted off wine glasses and silver watch faces. Mr. Langford was still holding court, gesturing, laughing, spinning stories about hard-earned success while casually belittling those who served him. Andre approached with a tall glass of ice water in hand. His steps didn't quicken. His posture didn't shift. Just a quiet, steady rhythm as he crossed the threshold to the patio. Langford set his wine down as Andre neared. "Oh good, the help returns." Andre didn't flinch. He placed the glass in front of him with the same precise care he gave every guest. Then he turned, paused just long enough for it to be noticeable, and looked Langford directly in the eyes. His voice was low, calm, controlled. "Funny thing about respect," Andre said. "It costs less than 20%. A breath. Just one. But in that heartbeat, something shifted. Langford blinked. A flicker of confusion cracked his smug facade. Around him, the table of associates went quiet. One man laughed, a nervous, choking sort of chuckle. Another cleared his throat. One looked away. Langford forced a grin, trying to recapture the moment. "You've got a mouth on you for a server." Andre met his eyes evenly. "I know." Then he turned and walked away, cool as still water. Inside the dining room, murmurs buzzed like static. The moment had cracked the air open. And from a nearby table on the patio, a woman in a navy blazer set down her wine glass with a soft clink. Her voice cut clean through the tension. He wasn't wrong. Langford's head turned sharply. "Excuse me." The woman didn't blink. "You disrespected him." Loudly. And he responded with more class than you deserved. Langford opened his mouth, but nothing came out. His associates shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, the balance of power tilting by degrees. And sitting 2 tables away, a young man in his early 20s, tousled blonde hair, college sweatshirt, Eli Langford, stared at his father in stunned silence. His father had always been demanding, blunt. But this was different. Eli had noticed Andre earlier. The way he carried himself. How he treated every guest with quiet dignity. And now, hearing his father, really hearing him, something cracked open. Back inside, Andre returned to the service station. The manager was already waiting. "Andre," he said, voice tight. "Did you say something to table 12? To Mr. Langford?" Andre didn't lie. "Yes." "You can't do that, man. He's a regular. Big spender. This place runs on." A voice interrupted from behind them. "Are you the manager?" They both turned. It was the woman in the navy blazer, heels clicking across the floor like punctuation marks. Yes, the manager said, straightening. Is there a problem? Not with him, she said, nodding toward Andre. With you. If you think standing up for yourself respectfully is grounds for discipline, you need to rethink your leadership style. The manager froze. Andre said nothing. He didn't need to. The room had changed. In the corner, Eli Langford watched everything. Watched his father squirm. Watched the woman speak with quiet authority. Watched Andre remain composed, unshaken. And he felt something like shame burning behind his ribs. This wasn't about a waiter and a tip anymore. It was about who you chose to be when no one was forcing you. The manager cleared his throat. Of course. No problem here. The woman looked at Andre. Keep doing what you're doing. She turned and left. Andre nodded once. Not for show, just thanks. And the restaurant, once again, found its rhythm. But it was a different rhythm now. Measured. Thoughtful. A little less entitled. The hum of the restaurant returned, but the air was different now, charged with something unspoken. Respect. Reflection. Andre was polishing a set of glasses at the service station when a man approached. Late 50s, silver hair trimmed close, wearing a dark olive blazer and wireframe glasses. Understated, but unmistakably composed. He stopped just a step away from Andre and spoke in a quiet tone. Not for show, not for the room. I saw what you did. Andre looked up, unsure what to expect. The man offered a small smile. That took restraint. Integrity. Not many people would have stood that tall. Andre blinked, caught off guard. Thank you, sir. I'm not saying it to flatter you. I mean it. He reached into his breast pocket and handed over a crisp card. If you've got time this week, I'd like to sit down. Talk. Andre glanced at the card. Clean black lettering. Samuel Everett. Underneath, Everett Foundation, Philanthropy, Education, Equity. Andre's eyebrows lifted slightly. He recognized the name. The foundation funded scholarships, community centers, even a recent arts fellowship he'd once dreamed about. You're that Everett. Samuel nodded. And you're someone I'd like to know better. Andre held the card, stunned for just a moment. I'd be honored. Everett gave a respectful nod. You've already earned it. With that, he walked away, no fanfare, no crowd. Just a man who saw something real and knew its worth. At the patio table, Langford sat rigid in his chair, his fingers tapping the stem of his glass. His guests were quieter now, eyes darting, unsure of the new social current. Eli sat beside him, arms crossed, watching everything. The tension in his jaw was new. Langford noticed. You've hardly said a word. Eli's gaze didn't waver. Didn't think I had to. Langford frowned. What's that supposed to mean? Eli leaned forward, voice low, eyes locked on his father's. You embarrassed me. Langford's mouth twitched. Excuse me. Eli didn't flinch. The way you talked to him. Like he wasn't even a person. Langford scoffed. Don't be dramatic. It was a joke. No, it wasn't, Eli shot back. It was you being cruel because you could get away with it. And he still showed more grace than I've ever seen from you. Langford's face tightened. Watch your tone, son. Eli stood up, napkin falling from his lap. You always told me respect was earned. Well, today, he earned mine. He paused, breathing heavy, his voice quieter now, but sharp as a blade. He's twice the man I thought you were. The table froze. Even the servers nearby went still. Langford stared at his son, stunned into silence for the first time in years. Eli turned and walked back into the restaurant, not looking back. Andre, standing at the service station, caught the movement out of the corner of his eye. Their eyes met, briefly, and for a moment, both men just nodded. No words needed. Because sometimes the moment says it all. Later that evening, the restaurant had quieted. The hum of clinking cutlery faded to a gentle rhythm. Andre was back at the bar, wrapping up his shift when the maître d' approached with an envelope. "This was left for you," she said, sliding it across the counter. Andre opened it carefully. Inside, a handwritten note and a folded brochure. "Andre, your presence today was more than professionalism. It was character. I hope you'll consider applying for our leadership initiative. Tuition waived. Let's talk soon. Samuel Everett." Andre's fingers lingered on the words, the logo of the Everett Foundation glinting at the top of the brochure. It wasn't just a meeting anymore. It was a second shot. A door reopening he'd long assumed was shut. Just then, a familiar voice interrupted. "Hey!" Andre looked up. Eli stood there, a little sheepish, hands in his jacket pockets. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry for the way my father talked to you." Andre gave a small nod. "Not your apology to make, but I appreciate it." Eli hesitated. "Still, thank you for how you handled it. I'll be honest, I don't think I would have had that kind of patience." Andre's smile was quiet, understanding. Patience is learned, usually the hard way. Eli let out a soft breath. "I meant what I said out there. You showed me something I didn't know I needed to see." They stood in silence for a moment, the awkwardness giving way to something more genuine. "You ever think about doing something beyond this place?" Eli asked. Andre held up the brochure. "Looks like I just got the chance." Eli grinned. "Good. You deserve it." They shook hands, a simple gesture, but one full of respect. Meanwhile, Langford sat alone at his table, untouched scotch before him. The other guests had trickled out, some avoiding eye contact, others offering stiff nods and hasty goodbyes. The staff, once attentive, now passed by without pause. The silence was louder than any confrontation. He looked around the once friendly room and realized something chilling. He'd become invisible. Near the exit, the woman in the navy dress, the one who'd spoken up earlier, caught Andre's eye. She approached with a warm smile and slipped a card into the tip tray beside her empty wine glass. "Some of us see you," she said softly, "and we don't forget." Andre looked at the card once she'd gone. It read, "Alyssa Chen, Executive Producer, Eastgate Media." The tip, a few crisp hundreds folded beneath. Andre exhaled, steady and slow. He didn't puff his chest or call attention to it. He didn't need to. He simply stood tall. A quiet victory. Because today, he hadn't just endured, he'd risen. And people saw him. Not the uniform. Not the title. Him. Tag someone who needs to hear this. Share this story if you believe dignity deserves respect, no matter what suit you wear.